morning and welcome to Story Time. The voice is Pastor Kim, but I am not in front of the video camera today because I am working the video camera. I've invited a very special person today to join us for Story Time, and that is my husband and partner, Jason, and he is going to be telling a story that he enjoys telling from the Godly Play curriculum called The Faces of Easter.
In the beginning, the baby was born. God chose Mary to be the mother of God. Listen carefully. Listen to these words. God chose Mary to be the mother of God, and the Word was born in a wordless child. When the baby looked up into the face of the mother Mary, he already saw the cross. And when he looked into the face of Father Joseph, the cross was there too. The mother Mary and the Father Joseph held the baby close. They kept the baby warm. They gave the baby everything the baby needed to grow. And it began to grow. The baby grew and grew and became a boy. And when that boy was about 12 years old, he went with the mother Mary and the father Joseph, and with many other people from their village of Nazareth, to the great city of Jerusalem, to keep one of the high holy days. When the celebration was over, the people from Nazareth went out through the high gate and started on the road towards home. But suddenly Mary and Joseph discovered that Jesus was not there. They thought he had been playing with the other children from the village as they walked together. They hurried back into the city of Jerusalem to find him. Mary and Joseph looked down the dark, narrow streets. They looked into the marketplace where they had bought their food. They looked where they had spent the night. They looked everywhere. And finally, they even looked in the temple, and there he was. He was talking to the rabbis, the priests. And when they spoke, he listened because he wanted to know more. And when he spoke, they listened because he knew so much. Mary and Joseph then asked Jesus the question all parents ask their children, and the question that can never be answered. Why did you do this? But Jesus said something very strange. He said, "Didn't you know I would be in my Father's house?" Mary and Joseph did not understand. Their house was in Nazareth, where Joseph's carpenter's shop was. They did not understand, but they would not forget. Jesus grew, and he became a man. And when he was about 30 years old, he went to the river Jordan, where his cousin John was baptizing people. Do you see John here? You can only see the back of his head and his hair. He was a wild man. Jesus waded into the river until he was face to face with John. He said, "Baptize me." John looked at Jesus as if it were for the first time. Now he saw who Jesus really was. "How can I baptize you? You are the Messiah, the one we have been waiting for. You must baptize me." "No," said Jesus, "it is written that you will come before me and prepare the way. Baptize me." Now Jesus went down into the darkness, into the chaos of the water. And when John lifted him back up into the light, there were people who said they saw a dove come down from heaven and come close to him. There were also people that day who heard a voice. The voice said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." After Jesus was baptized, he went across the river Jordan to the desert. He stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights to learn more about who he was and what work he was going to do. When Jesus went into the desert to learn more about who he was and what work he was going to do, he was there for 40 days and 40 nights, and there was little food to eat or water to drink. One day he heard a voice that said, "Why don't you turn one of those stones over there into bread and have something to eat?" And Jesus said, "No, to be human, we need more than just bread to eat." And then suddenly it was as if Jesus were on top of the great temple in Jerusalem. And the voice came back, "If you really are the Son of God, why don't you jump and see if God sends angels to catch you before you hit the stones below?" And Jesus said, "No, we don't need to test God." Then it was as if Jesus could see all the kingdoms of the world, and the voice came back again, "If you follow me, I will make you king over all of these kingdoms." Jesus said, "No, I am to be a king, but not that kind of king." And the voice went away. Jesus went back across the river Jordan to begin his work. But what would his work be? Jesus' work would be to come close to people, especially the people that no one else wanted to come close to. You see, he has come very close to this blind man. He has come so close that he has touched the blind man's eyes. When Jesus came close to people, they changed. They could see things they had never seen before, and they could do things they had never done before. They became well. Jesus also told parables. And finally, he knew that he had to become a parable. So he turned towards Jerusalem one last time. When Jesus went to Jerusalem for the last time, it was the time of the Passover, and the city was full of people from many different lands. They thought that Jesus was coming to be king, but they just weren't paying attention. He wasn't riding a great white horse when he came into the city. He wasn't being carried by soldiers. He was riding on a donkey, and it wasn't even his. He had borrowed it. Still, that Sunday when Jesus came into Jerusalem, people waved palm branches, which was a sign for kings. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jesus went into the temple to teach, and every night he went back to the Mount of Olives with the 12. The people watched him and whispered that the Mount of Olives was where the angels were supposed to come down and make an army to drive away the Roman soldiers. The temple guard said, "On Thursday we will take him." But on Thursday they could not find him. That evening, Jesus and the 12 hurried through the dark streets to a house. They climbed up the stairs to an upper room and shared their Last Supper together. After they had had everything they wanted to eat, Jesus took some bread and broke it and gave thanks and said something like this: "Whenever you break bread like this and share it, I will be there." And he also took a cup of wine. He gave thanks to God, and he said, "Whenever you share a cup of wine like this, I will be there." What was he talking about? He was always saying things like that. How could they know? But still, they did not forget, and later they would understand. Suddenly, Judas got up and left. The rest sang a hymn and went to the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives. Jesus wanted to pray. When he finished praying, he joined the 12, but Judas came out of the dark and greeted him. This was a sign for the temple guards to take him. They too came out of the shadows and took Jesus away with them into the night. And the 12 disappeared into the darkness as well. Now that's the end of our story for today. But thankfully, it's not the end of this story. Join us on Easter Sunday for a very special treat.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you all for watching. And we'll see you Sunday. And join us next week, Wednesday at 11 o'clock Central for Story Time. Next week, the Director of Christian Education and Youth Ministries at First Presbyterian Church of Valparaiso, Ken Cruz, will be hosting Story Time. Blessings to you this day. Bye-bye.